Hello. Give it another minute or so for folks to trickle in.
Good morning. Could I ask a really quick question, Crystal? Paul
Of
Puri
course.
from UCLA. I still don't have a grasp of what this meeting is for. I was part of the EMCO WorldCat from the last round. Do I have to sign up again and attend this particular meeting for the second? Because if not, I got other things to do.
Yeah,
So
no, go do your other stuff. This is just an orientation session. It's a repeat of what you already had as a early adopter phase participant from the first round. So unless you
awesome.
had anything from that you wanted to discuss, you're good.
No, thank you. Yeah, and I will continue the work with WorldCat. But thank you
Nice.
so much for structuring all of this and much appreciated. You have a great day. Thank you.
Do. Bye.
Bye.
All right. Let's see. Jennifer, I don't know if you want to drive the slides or if you want me to do it. Um, I'm
Indifferent,
happy to do
whatever you want
either.
to do. I can
Okay.
do it, or
I'm on my way to doing it right now, so maybe it makes sense for me to do it.
you're on the on-ramp.
Yep. It's
Hi,
happening.
everybody. I don't know who's people are still joining. The numbers are still creeping up.
Yeah.
Oh, it's just now too. Well,
Yeah. Let's
for
see.
Monday, I've had a slam of meetings. I don't know what's going on today.
That's the worst.
It's this month, man. I just,
Yeah. This whole spring has been really a lot.
uh, yeah.
Okay, I just put a link to the agenda in the chat and I'm opening up the slides now. Let's see. Okay. I'm gonna do a share. You know, it's bad when it's Monday and it's not noon yet and you already have way too many tabs open. Okay, this is the one that we need. All right. The numbers are still creeping up, so let's give it another couple of minutes.
Mhm.
Um, there's a virtual sign-in section on this agenda. If anyone needs an activity.
And I complained to this group of catalogers who will understand my pain. My computer crashed last week and they everything was backed up like from the desktop because we have like Google Drive backups, but of course I didn't have the app data backed up, so I lost all my OCLC connection files that I'd saved. Like 5 years of saved cataloging work. I'm
Oh
so
my God.
sad.
Does that delete from the online save file in addition
I
to
didn't
the,
have anything in the online save file. It was all my local files. And again, like everything's backed up like from the desktop because of the way we do Google Drive backups, but the app data wasn't backed up because it didn't occur to anybody that there was anything in there. So it's not in the traditional. So
Oh
like on all my
no.
desktop and like all my so like no, all my
My
cataloging's
constant
out
data forms, and I have so many like
and my
time
text
saving
streams.
hacks.
Yeah, like you have to set up all your keystrokes and stuff again.
Oh,
Yes.
boo. I'm so
But
sorry.
now our IT guys are like, oh, we should add that to the automated backup.
Yeah.
I was like, so glad to be the guinea pig.
Yay. I feel like there's some times when we've lost things from the online save file and OCLC has been able to get them back for us. I wonder if that's true for the local save file or not.
No,
Probably not,
yeah, it's
because
all
it's,
local.
oh gosh.
No, it's my text strings I'm the most upset about.
Yes. Yeah, I feel that. I
Yeah.
feel that.
But this might come up though because it's also how I was saving like my original cataloging statistics because I just go into my local save file and be like, how many files are in here? And I was like, oh no.
Yeah. We pretty much only use the online save file.
You know what? You're smart.
I'm not smart. I think Adam's smart. Um, we all soak up Adam's smartness.
Anyway, I just needed to tell a group of people who would understand because the IT guys were like, what could possibly have been in there? And I'm like, ugh.
So many things. Ugh, I'm sorry. I hope that you'll be able to at least recall what you did, and those records will be faster to recreate than they were to create
I
initially.
mean, yeah. I was looking around because I saved the text strings
Mhm.
and shared them with, my other catalogers. And I was like, oh,
Good.
checking my old emails. Being like, did I send it to someone via email and it's in there?
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll live. It's like my brain's gonna have to work so much harder to do cataloging in the next few months.
Yeah. Ugh. All right. It looks like we're leveling out for participants. So maybe we should start. Yeah.
Let's do it.
All right.
All right, everybody. I'm going to post the link to the agenda one more time for folks who came in just now. So officially just kicked off. We are recording. Good. Hi, I'm Jennifer Liss, and I'm presenting with Crystal Uragi, and we are the co-chairs of the Program for Cooperative Cataloging's Identity Management Advisory Committee. We shorten this to IMAC because it's too long. So we are thrilled to have you with us for the early adopters phase of EMCO. EMCO is a new entity management cooperative in the PCC. It is an actual PCC program. It's not on the website yet. We're working on it, but we're building it, and it's super exciting. And we are super glad you were all here. Welcome everybody, whether you're already a PCC member or you're a new member. Closed captioning. Oh, is it on? I don't own this meeting. If it's not, Crystal will do it. So closed captioning is being enabled for this meeting, and you can toggle it on and off if you need it. You're welcome to post comments or questions in the chat. If you have a question, we can monitor the chat and address those as they come up. You're also welcome to use the hand raise functionality in Zoom. And we just ask that because this is a larger meeting, everybody try and stay on mute. And then we're going to just keep monitoring things for folks who may have a hand up via the Zoom function.
Just checking in, Jennifer. I think that
Mm.
the closed captioning is enabled through the transcript button,
Hmm.
but I can't tell from.
Yes, it's working.
Okay, great.
Yep. Okay, I just looked at
Awesome.
it. Oh, I can't turn it off. Oh God. Okay. Wonderful.
You can exit
Okay.
out and then
Oh, I got it. I got
it
it.
won't disappear for as an option. It's continuing.
Yep.
All
Great.
right.
Thank you.
Let's see. This meeting right now is being recorded. Recordings are going to be posted publicly in order to make this new program open and accessible. So by being here, you're consenting to be recorded. It's not required to have your camera on. If you don't want it on, you can also watch the recording later if you're not comfortable with recording. IMAC is striving to make EMCO an inclusive space. So if you have any accessibility needs that aren't being met, like closed captioning, please let us know and we'll do our best to accommodate you. You can send a message or an email to myself or Jennifer and we'll figure things out for you. The ENCO listserv here conveys important information for the whole early adopters phase. So if you didn't receive an email from this listserv about this meeting, um, or if you're not sure, please complete the EMCO listserv subscription request form so that Trisha can add you. And thank you, Trisha, if you're listening, for maintaining our listserv. In lieu of introductions, because there's a lot of us, please scroll to the bottom of the agenda document and sign in electronically there. And then I'll hand it over to
All
Jennifer to
right.
talk about demographics.
Yes. Okay. So the early adopters phase actually launched around this time last year with participants hailing from 18 countries on 5 continents. They were in Australia, Oceania, Africa, Asia, Europe, and North America. With the second cohort, we finally got South America added to the list with the addition of Chile and Brazil. Welcome. And now we have 21 countries participating on 6 continents. That is um, as exciting as it is maybe surprising to me, but I think it also speaks to how universal this need is in the galleries, libraries, archives, museums world. We need entity management. So anyway.
Sorry for my muting and unmuting. I have a terrible cough right now. So 3/4 of our second cohort participants are affiliated with academic libraries. That's about the same as it was for our initial cohort. So we've got a lot of academic libraries represented in EMCO. Special libraries represent 9% of new participants, and public libraries represent 6%. Publishers, vendors, and service providers such as OCLC represent 4% of participants. We've got 3% K through 12 libraries, which is great. And then 2% are from government libraries and 1% are unaffiliated participants, which is really exciting. We wanted folks to be able to participate in EMCO as individuals rather than just through their institutions, and we can see that that's happening. So we're looking forward to the collaborative work ahead for this group.
Okay, so here we're going to talk a little bit about what you all are interested in. So for the second cohort, the registry that received the most interest from participants was Wikidata. And that wasn't really a surprise to us. There's already a very active community of people in libraries, archives, museums, etc., already working in Wikidata and in a pretty organized way. And so after that, we saw significant interest in WorldCat entities as well as ISNI. And then we had some others. The snack is social networks and archival contexts, and as well as VIAF or VIAF, however you like to pronounce it, as well as ORCID. So that is all exciting.
So we've put together some EMCO wiki pages within the structure of the PCC's wiki, and these have a lot of information on the early adopters phase. We keep these relatively updated, so the information there should be reliable. If you see something that's out of date, please let us know. We're eager to take your questions about what you read, but first, we also want to share about the structure that's been developed for EMCO so far.
Posting a link in the chat, sorry. There we go. So people can get those links on the slides. Okay, so for the last year, the EMCO early adopters phase, participants have been building EMCO for us. And so here you can see the structure that we've developed. So at the top, you'll see POCO. That stands for the PCC Policy Committee. That's the group that sort of drives the whole of the PCC. And so one sideways tic tac down, I guess, is IMAC, and that is, of course, the PCC Identity Management Advisory Committee. This committee was charged by POCO to bring EMCO into existence, and so that's why we're here today. And then after that is EMCO COCO, which is our shorthand abbreviation for the EMCO Coordination Committee. We're going to talk a little bit more about that in a moment. But below that are coordinators, registry coordinators, who help administratively assist each of the communities of practice. That's what that COP stands for. So there are currently 3 communities of practice, and they're all organized around specific registries. And thus far, we have communities of practice for Wikidata, ISNI, and WorldCat entities via OCLC Meridian. So, more about the coordination committee. This is responsible for doing both the long-term strategy work for EMCO that includes policy and includes figuring out how to get EMCO to sustain itself without a committee supporting it, much like the other PCC programs. But the committee also does a lot of day-to-day work, making sure that communication across each of the communities of practice is happening. And of course, if there are needs that need to be surfaced, maybe up to IMAC or the PCC Policy Committee, that is also done. And this is just a quick slide to thank all the members of the coordination committee. It includes both IMAC members plus all of the coordinators. They are working incredibly hard to get this brand new thing going, and I'm so, so thankful for all of them. Okay. So because all the real work happens at the level of each registry community of practice, we prepared a few slides that share more information about each of them. So I want to note that while there were only 3 communities of practice at the moment, that was that Wikidata, ISNI, and WorldCat entities, there is a possibility that more could emerge later, as soon as the interest coalesces and we have the capacity to actually spin up a new community of practice. But back to this one. So the ISNI community of practice is perhaps a natural extension of the work that happened during the PCC's ISNI pilot, which was several years ago now. The number is escaping me. I don't remember what year we did it, but it was a while. And so that interest was sort of already in place, and it made a lot of sense to just start a community of practice right away for this. Um, Most recently, the colleagues from the British Library's Inequality team did a really great training and overview of ISNI. And that is recorded. Oh, yeah, the link is on the slide. So that plus future training is on deck. And that group will be talking about things like how do you collect stats for this particular community and other issues. Oh, Crystal, you're muted.
Oop, sorry. Um, all right, so currently the largest of our registry communities is Wikidata. It's got 5 registry coordinators, and that is largely because there are so many humans to coordinate who are working in Wikidata. The work being conducted here is seen as an extension to the PCC Wikidata pilot, and we also share a lot of membership and expertise with the LD4 Wikidata Affinity Group. The objectives that the community have agreed on for the early adopters phase are to define a shared core property application profile for agent classes in Wikidata. So those have been broken down into persons and corporate bodies. Um, Application profiles have been published on the Wikidata platform for both of those. I think that they're also seen as kind of living documents that can be adjusted over time as needed. We've also set the goal of determining a method of collecting and reporting Wikidata statistics to the PCC. We currently have several options for the community to try out. So we've identified what statistics we want to track, and there's just a few different methods of doing that for the Wikidata community that folks are welcome to start testing. And then we also are trying to pull together documentation on Wikidata editing that's relevant to GLAMS. That's where a lot of the overlap with the LD4 group and the PCC Wikidata pilot comes into play. And then coordinators are also working on kind of pulling all of the wiki projects that participants are working on that could be considered EMCO projects together, defining what makes a Wikidata project an EMCO project is part of our work for the early adopters phase. So that's ongoing. And we're also kind of teaming up with the LD4 Wikidata Affinity Group for this aspect of the work. And then I think, Anne, were you wanting to do this slide for WorldCat entities?
Yes.
Nice, thank you.
Hello. I'm Ann Washington. I'm a product manager at OCLC, and well, we do. Misty Kane and, oh gosh, Jill Strakowski are actually the leads for this, so I could let Jill do it, but I'll do it this one time. We meet monthly. A lot of our work, so Wikidata had a great kind of network and structure built up, and WorldCat Entities was a community of practice that was also starting from the ground up like ISNI. So there was a good bit of organization that we got started with. And now we're really kind of in a good rhythm of things with a focus right now on um, looking at minimum requirements, application profiles, essentially for different best practices around what properties you'd expect to have filled in, things like that. Also, other questions have come up that I think are kind of EMCO wide. So thinking about how linked data systems are working with one another. Um, we're also talking, I think folks mentioned some statistic stuff, but right now our focus is the different properties for that WorldCat entities data. So we're really excited that there was some more folks interested in joining. Talked to some of those folks, I think, I don't know, maybe a week, two, three. Time goes fast now, so ago. So, but if this is your first time hearing about it and you're interested, feel free to join our next meeting. That is all.
Hey, great. So that was very high level overviews of both the EMCO program, how the communities of practice are set up for each registry, and then a little bit about what each one's doing. Um, I imagine though that um, librarians and library adjacent people, being the curious minds that we are, you may have questions. And so we're gonna sort of make some space for questions. We're also happy to entertain any of your entity management challenges or any hopes you have, like uh, projects, anything of that nature. We are here to share. So you could do that in the chat. You can raise your hand. At any rate. On this slide, there are some prompts if you think you have something to say about any of those. But I'm gonna do my best to pause and leave room, which is really hard for me to do.
Chloe has a hand up.
Oh, Chloe, yes.
I can share. I kind of will mix a few of these questions into my answer. And it might be like super obvious, but my institution, I work at the Cleveland Museum of Art in Cleveland, Ohio. We
Mhm.
just recently got OCLC Meridian, which I was really excited to work with. So specifically for that aspect of EMCO, I'm really interested in joining the early adopters phase since I'm getting in the system and really looking forward to what Anne was saying earlier about like minimally viable records, like trying to get in on the ground
Mhm.
floor and set up some of those shared understandings. So that, I don't have a reason to complain later if somebody else makes decisions that I don't want. So that's kind of why I'm here, if that's helpful at all.
I love that. Thanks for sharing. One of the perks of being part of the program for cooperative cataloging is that you get to be at the table that decides how things will be, what the guidance will look like when it's published, for the international community to comment on, to use, to refine. So that's definitely a perk of joining the PCC. Thank you. I love it. It's also been a great community for just learning new things, I'll say. It's been very welcoming. Those that have resources are have been very willing to share. So that's been wonderful to see.
You all can also feel welcome to ask any questions that you have or to go outside of the prompts with topics that you'd like to discuss. These are just sort of meant to be a starting point. So if you have anything else that you'd like to discuss about EMCO, um, feel free. Echo.
Echo.
And, sorry. Echo, I cannot hear you. Maybe you're muted.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay,
Hello.
sorry about that.
That's
Yeah, last February I watched a webinar with somebody from West Virginia University who was talking about doing some work with the PCC, and then they were trying to get NACO trained, and then they ended up using WorldCat entities to highlight some of their local. Um, the people that are represented in their local collections. And because my library is in Leesburg, Virginia, and has a lot of connections to local history, and we'd like to be able to see what we can surface across the region of people who hold similarly related to the linked for data kind of communities of what they're investigating. And I'm interested in the same thing, but I haven't been PCC trained. I don't have NACO, qualifications. So I'm interested in learning more about identity management, but I don't know if I can do that with WorldCat entities without Meridian as a subscription.
I'm so
That sounds like
glad
an
you
Anne question.
asked.
Yeah.
Um, I w- I'm not sure if Christy has a separate question or has a comment on this. So if it's a comment on this, then I'll quickly answer. But this group, folks can participate who do or also those who don't have a subscription. Yes, the subscription gets that's the access to actually edit the data. But we do have folks in the group who don't have subscribers. Since that data though is available for people to like use, via the API and for free and things like that. I would say that people who have an interest in using that data or, being, you know, having some sort of say on what expectations might be, that's perfectly fine way to interact. And one of the ways that um, the group has have kind of formulated some things that are kind of like, hey, we'd like to advocate for OCLC to do X. And so I think this is a really kind of nice place where things like that can happen, to then have influence. So I will also say to this group, there is broadly some kind of pricing adjustments that we may be able to make for those who are participating in EMCO. I don't want to take over the discussion with that at all. So I'm going to put my email in the chat, and if anybody has questions about that, let me know. But certainly you do not need to be a Meridian subscriber to participate in the WorldCat Entities Meridian community of practice. Okay. But I'm here if there are more questions.
Thank you so
Thanks,
much.
Anne.
I
I
want
see
to
Christy's hand up, but there's been a lot of chat. Do we want to try and do some chat and then go back to Christy?
I think I can give a little update on what's been discussed in the chat.
Okay.
There have been a couple of really good questions. So the first one was um, asking about sort of defining um, acronyms that we're using. And I
Yeah.
think that it's a really good idea for MCO or IMAC to put that into our MCO FAQ because we have a lot of acronyms and we probably should have a place where they're all defined. So that was a really good
Mhm.
suggestion. And then John asks if we will be discussing official RDA and how that will impact
Mm.
entity management. I think that's a really good question and one that we might want to have as a broader discussion among all of the separate communities of practice who are impacted. That discussion is not happening yet, but it certainly could. And then boop, boop, boop. We had another one about whether folks who come from non-PCC institutions can participate in EMCO. And that's one of the things that we're most proud of about EMCO, I think, is that we have made it so that volunteering as an EMCO participant makes you a member of EMCO. And we're also working on the PCC governance document to establish EMCO sort of as a parallel membership level as a Seiko funnel member. So you will have PCC membership. Um, I think kind of separate from voting rights. We're still working that out. Maybe just registry coordinators, one per community of practice, will end up having a PCC vote. But yeah, there you don't need other PCC membership to participate. Um, Christy, you've had your hand raised for a while.
Oh, it's fine. If you need to, I can wait because I was going to introduce a new question. If you need to keep going.
There was a sort of observation from Joseph that the Wikidata community of practice developing a core set of properties is good because you're right, Wikidata can get really complex really fast. I think that the identification of kind of required slash recommended properties and other properties that are available if you so choose has been kind of part of the path. Um, and that will be useful for folks who are kind of looking at the thousands of properties in Wikidata and getting a little bit overwhelmed. Um,
Could I cut in just a bit,
yeah,
Christy? So one of the things toward the end of that comment is a comment about like, well, we were supposed to be doing entity management to accelerate the production of entities out in the like data world, and instead we got back bogged down, probably for reasons that are, are here or there. But I think one of the things that I keep hearing, it's a common refrain, is that working in a linked data environment is just going to be different than working in our walled off, mark-based, beautiful cultivated gardens of metadata. Um, and that mindset's going to take a while to sort of take hold. And so I'm hoping the more open structure of EMCO helps with that. And we are very intentionally putting all of the how do I say this? One way to say it is that the PCC policy committee isn't telling us, EMCO, what to do. EMCO is surfacing to policy committee what the policy should be. And so it's a flip of what usually happens. If that is frightening, that is normal because we're in new ground here. I think one of the things we probably should have said up front about EMCO is that it's not built yet. The early adopters phase is for building the program. There is some training, but not the kind of training you would see on the PCC NACO website, for instance. There's starting to be guidance. The Wikidata, they're working on profiles and all kinds of things. They're not ready yet for all registries, right? We're still building it. So if that compels you and you're excited to be part of that, great, stick around. If you're not ready for that, that's okay too. You can lurk and just sort of keep your ear out about what's happening. That if you feel like now's not the time for you to participate, that's okay too. Come back and find us later. That's okay. All right, that's it. Sorry. We should really probably get back to Christy.
Yeah.
Please go.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, no, I was just going to share that I'm here from the University of Chicago Library with my colleague who's also on the call, Larissa Walsh. And at the U of C, we've actually been working on a project for almost a year now to build a model for for collecting information about book challenges and coordinated it in an open database. And we selected Wikidata for the project. So we've actually spent the last year doing a lot of modeling of this data to see what book challenges would look like. And I just wanted to, one of the main reasons I wanted to talk is to say that we've been using the ECMO application profiles for persons that are already up on the Wikidata site for our own work, along with the Wikidata project books models for works and instances or works and editions to help us figure out. The first step in our project is really getting works, editions, and persons into Wikidata so that we can then associate book challenges um, with with those entities. So we've been doing a lot of work modeling this, and we've been thinking about ways that we could automate um, and push this data up into Wikidata. So we've already used a lot of the resources that this group has been working on. So we're happy um, to join to join that group. And I guess I wanted to provide a little context and then just think about like for those of us who have projects that we're trying to figure out actually how to implement. How does that align with the work of oh, I think I said ECMO, but it's EMCO,
Yeah, we're
EMCO.
calling it EMCO,
Okay,
Entity
thank you.
Management Cooperative. Yeah, no, you're right. So I think I heard the question was how do my projects fit in with EMCO, and do they? We actually wrote, I don't think we posted it yet. It's still in draft. We wrote a list of criteria for what projects would be considered EMCO projects as opposed to a personal or even just your institutional work that's just happening. So we will get that posted, but we're pretty open about it. It's pretty much anything that seems to be libraries, archives, museums, galleries related. Um, and it has to be about, for this point, we started EMCO with a focus on entities that are people or corporate bodies only. And that's only to make it more manageable. We couldn't handle like, topics or objects out in the world. It was just going to get too hairy. So we just wanted to start with that, limited scope. Am I missing anything, Crystal? I think it really is that open for projects.
Yeah, it's pretty open. I think that the your project sounds really exciting and it
Yeah.
really meshes well with the mission of Wikimedia projects. So I think that was a good choice. Um, what we would count as an EMCO contribution within the project is the persons and corporate bodies that you're setting up according to the EMCO profiles. But I think that working with the Wikibooks structure and thinking about entities like Creative Works and what that means in Wikidata versus what that means in BibFrame versus what that means in official RDA, um, those are the kinds of questions that we want to be able to tackle in the future. And that experience is going to be extremely useful moving forward because that's sort of what has been difficult for us is entity modeling for some of those types of abstract entities. So we're, like Jennifer says, we're starting with persons and corporate bodies, but what you're doing with works and additions in Wikidata will be useful in the future.
Can I ask a follow-up question really quick?
Mhm.
I mean, are there spaces for having those conversations in a more informal way as a part of this group, or is there a timeline for working on the creative works, or should we limit our engagement to just persons altogether? I'm just trying to understand like scope and
Yeah.
uh,
Right now, the scope is for persons and corporate bodies. And I think that's because when it comes to conceptual models for those things, we're all pretty consistent across the board, more or less. There's some stuff about like pseudonyms or, um, fictitious characters and things that differ between the platforms, but there are surmountable problems, or like NACO talks about name changes as separate entities, whereas Wikidata, it's all one entity if it's the same group. Um, Something like working on creative works, that's so different in all the different registries that we really need um, to think about crosswalking between different conceptual models and different implementations of those conceptual models even before we can start making projects or doing policy in a real way. So I think that's why we've been hesitant to give any sort of a timeline for that. Like I don't know what it's going to look like to implement official RDA using BibFrame or using Wikidata, like for for creative works. So Jennifer, I don't know if you had other thoughts on that.
No, same. I think with that complex work and the EMCO program being so new and the infrastructure not being really in place, we just didn't want to tread there yet. So I don't have a timeline. Uh, we'll have to revisit that question. I hope though, addressing another part of your question, which I think what I heard was, is there a space to discuss this? And I think the communities of practice have been mostly focused on building the infrastructure piece, but eventually it'll turn more toward um, kind of more of like an LD4 type model where maybe, especially for Wikidata, I mean, where it's more of like a discussing a theme or a certain problem or a policy decision. And so I think it will get there, but it's been slow because we have to actually build a new PCC program first.
Yeah, and then Mara points out Wikidata, and Mara is one of our
Yeah.
Wikidata co-conveners. Thank you. We have a Google group listserv that we would love to have more chatty engagement on. And I know that that's true for all of the communities of practice. There
Mhm.
are communication channels set up for each one. And just because something is not in scope for the early adopter phase right now doesn't mean that it can't be talked about. There's not really parameters around what sort of entity management we can discuss using those lists. And it might be fun for the larger EMCO listserv to think about things like, how does your registry handle creative works and expressions and manifestations? What do those look like in your registry? Or do they look like a bunch of different things in your registry? That's something that we could discuss as EMCO on the EMCO list if we're curious about comparing and contrasting different registries. I think there's a lot less chatter on that list though, because there's so many people on it.
So a few more folks shared in the chat. I won't repeat it all, but just what they're hoping to do in EMCO or things that they have done that might apply. Wonderful. Anything else anybody wants to share or add? Otherwise, we can move on.
I'll share. Hi, everyone.
Yeah.
I'm Laura Cole. I'm here from the University of New Mexico. We are a PCC NACO library. My project that I'm interested in is creating entities for our archival collections because one of the strategic priorities of our university
Yes.
is highlighting our distinctive collections. So our local creators, our indigenous communities. So I would say that's what I'm most excited about doing. Um, I was able to get the funding to purchase Meridian. So our biggest challenge was receiving funding and having to justify why I wanted this to the administration and explain what I hope to do with it. So I have it for a year and I'm excited and I hope that we can build this into our normal workflow at UNM so that I can continue to receive funding. So yeah, excited to be here. Thank you.
That's really exciting. The PCC Wikidata pilot project, a lot of us did archival collections and sort of linking persons and corporate bodies to their archival collections. And
Mhm.
that's just been really fun to do. So if you don't find documentation in EMCO specifically for archival stuff, the PCC Wikidata pilot definitely has it.
Great, thank you.
Does anyone else want to share what they're doing or have any questions? I really appreciate that folks participated. That was great. All right. I think this one's Jennifer.
Yeah. So, what can you do after this meeting? I think the most important thing to do, is make sure that you're on the EMCO listserv. I sent a message, I don't know, maybe about an hour ago, and it hit 295 inboxes. That's what I got the confirmation. So it's going out. If you didn't receive an email, make sure you check your junk mail, stuff like that. But had that not happened, there is a request form. That's how I think we want to expedite getting those. I put that in the chat earlier. As soon as I find the link again, put it in here. There we go. Yeah, so make sure you're on that EMCO wide listserv. So that's no matter what registry you're interested in, everybody, if you're in EMCO, you should be on this listserv. And then the second thing you should do, in the agenda, there is a series of links to, I think it's the rosters of each of the communities of practice. So whichever community of practice you're interested in, make sure you go get your name on that roster. And when you do that, that tells me I need to get you added to the Google Drive for that community of practice. And so there was some traffic on the EMCO list earlier, like just before this meeting about I can't access things. And yes, that's we need to get you access. So that's how you tell me. Um, Excel sheet looks like it's view only. Uh-oh. Maybe we need to change the link permission. We'll work on that. Thank you, Chloe. Whoops, I meant to test that on a incognito browser and I did not. Whoops. Okay, that's what it was. Okay, so we'll change the links in the agenda right now to get those. Thank you. Um, but that also tells the coordinators like who you are and who you're interested. Um, So yeah, that is probably the most important things immediate steps you can take after this meeting. Community practice coordinators will soon be, if they don't already have standing meetings that you can, jump into, they will be scheduling meetings soon. For instance, the ISNI community of practice. I'm sort of interim heading that one while we look for new coordinators, but I'll probably be sending out a poll to say, hey, when do you want to meet? And we'll get started that way.
And we're also recruiting for an ISNI registry coordinator or two. So if
Ideally
that's
two.
something that you're interested
Yeah.
in doing,
Mm.
it's pretty low commitment as far as you just sort of schedule the meetings, and rather than being responsible for doing all the work yourself, you're just making sure that the work is getting done, which is a lot different and less intense of a lift. So if that's something you're interested in, or if you have questions about it,
Yeah.
send us an email.
Yeah.
Let's see. All we had left was that IMAC welcomes input on EMCO. So does EMCO COCO. So feel free to email us or send us feedback and questions. This feedback form is still live, so we would love to hear from you. IMAC is still regularly checking that link. And then you can also email Jennifer or I anytime. It's a little bit easier for us though if you send questions and feedback to the feedback form, because our inboxes can get a little bit full, especially around times of recruitment and onboarding. And then the PCC Wiki is the place to go for all of your EMCO information needs. You can find recordings and slides from past EMCO updates and presentations, information about the overall program as it develops, etc. You can also visit our PCC YouTube channel for recordings of meetings and things. And I think that's all we had for slides and sort of programming. If you all have more questions though, we can stick around to answer them, or we can all take our time back. Looks like Joseph had a comment. Yes, I think as part of EMCO, sort of showing the value of entity management is one of the main things that we are trying to do here. So keeping statistics is kind of one of those things. I think for those of us who work at EMCO or NACO libraries, we can sort of demonstrate that there's a place for NACO work, but there's also a place for entity management, because our NACO work doesn't scale quite at the level that we need it to for our metadata to play with other data on the semantic web in the way that it should. So yes.
The perk of also joining the PCC generally, whether it's EMCO or any of the other programs, which I highly recommend, all the programs, if you can do it, is that it has a lot of weight in the metadata community, and a lot of expertise, and it has a lot of infrastructure already built to help move things forward. So, to the question of LSPs using or not using all these URIs and things, we have, by we I mean the PCC has I can't remember the name of them. I'm looking it up. A library systems and vendors advisory committee that is working on just this thing. And we've got representation from all the big vendors, maybe not all the little ones. But that has been an interesting venue for trying to push forward some of these pieces we really need to advocate for. So yeah, I think we don't EMCO doesn't have to do it all on its own, but we can surface things to other committees to work on.
All
Yeah.
those Excel sheets should be fixed. You should be able to edit them now. If anyone's still having trouble editing them, please let us know.
Oh, thanks for doing that, Crystal. going to keep pausing. Um, so we will get the recording probably up on Wednesday or Thursday onto the PCC YouTube channel. We'll distribute it in case you want to, rewatch something or watch the other one. You don't have to. You attended one, you're done. But sometimes different things come up and that can be interesting. So we try to get as much as possible up on the YouTube so that folks can kind of keep up with things. I'll also just say about the communities of practice and signing up for different rosters. There are such things as lurkers, where people will pick one registry of practice, community of practice, but then they'll lurk on others, and that's okay. That's totally fine. I think those who are interested in learning are welcome to do so with us.
Yeah, that's a very encouraged thing. I'm lurking on two of them.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. No worries. And truly, eventually the program will actually have like real training. But we're just not there yet.
Isn't did some training. I was really impressed.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
was cool.
The other good thing about the PCC is that we have a lot of connections to other groups. We have a really strong connection with ISNI, one that we're continuing to try to keep it nice and strong. And so obviously World Cat Entities in Washington introduced herself earlier. She's an IMAC member, so that's our connection there. And when we recruit for membership in IMAC, we look for those connections, people who can help us. Yeah.
If you don't mind, I'll jump in at the end here. Um, sorry, I'm like work from home day. The So I'm one of the co-chairs of the Meridian group, and Anne has been great, and also poor thing has to listen to us bash OCLC all the time, which is her boss company. But to several conversations that I've had with other groups about works, because the Wikidata community of practice from here has been doing amazing work with the subject headings and entities, but the subject headings and person entities and corporate entities, the works conversation, which would be really helpful in setting up related. Now I feel like I want to use the word works again, and that's too many uses of the word works. So related titles for persons, because you want to put in the titles they have worked on. Uh, Getting kind of like a big dump into Wikidata of identifiers for resource titles is another big heavy lift that, is kind of still out there as a potential project. I've had some side conversations with the group from Internet Archive, who has this open library catalog set from open access monographs, and they are interested in potentially doing a dump of that into Wikidata. So I've been talking to them about that. And then for those that are ex libris, yes, thanks. Thanks, Kate. Like work is a work and a expression and a something. There is also a question of how fast Library of Congress is going to create works in their BibFrame linked data service hub, whether that will have a different identifier from the OCLC identifier, and whether that will be usable within bibliographic records. But also for those who are ex libris libraries, their big user conference is coming up in 2 weeks, and I've got a meeting with some of the content folks from ex libris to see if we can convince them to do a work project because they're heavily invested in linked open data and AI use of linked open data. Uh, so those are sort of my advocacy where I'm trying to convince groups with more resources. So if anybody has any interest in that, you can reach out to me. Um, and I'll be giving updates if any of those turn into anything.
Yeah, these are really good conversations, and I think we're going to be well positioned to start addressing them after the early adopter phase has helped us develop some scaffolding around decision making and crosswalking and things like that. So this is a really healthy thing for us to be talking about. Definitely.
Yeah, and obviously this group, should either of those partners, agree that these are projects they want to invest in, this group would be the group to be like, okay, this is sort of what is needed minimally from any dumps you guys can do, um, and kind of go from there.
Mhm.
Great. All right, a lot of excitement. You've got two things to check. I will send out a message to the EMCO listserv probably at least one more time this week to just summarize the next steps to be able to take. And you'll probably be seeing emails either from me or Crystal or somebody giving you Google Drive access to the whatever community practice you sign up for or communities if you do more. Um, yeah, so I think that's it for this meeting. You do not have to attend again, only if you want to. But yeah, that's it for the content. Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you.
Take care, all. Thanks, Crystal.
Thanks, Jennifer. Sorry about my
Go.
cough.
No, what are you gonna do?
I don't know.
Like
Heal.
Joe's. Oh my gosh. Anyway, all right. See you on
Yeah.
Wednesday.